The 2025 Bahrain Grand Prix was one of the most dramatic and unpredictable races of the current season. From the very beginning to the final lap, there were surprises, strategy shifts, penalties, and a lot of action that shook up the expected results. It was a race full of twists and turns that left fans excited and teams scratching their heads. Now, before the race began, most people thought Red Bull would dominate, as they often have in recent years. But what actually happened was far from that. Max Verstappen had one of the worst races in recent memory. He spent part of the race running in 20th place, the very back of the grid. Although he managed some damage control by the end, it was clear that this day would be remembered as a disaster for Red Bull Racing. In qualifying, Max had brake problems. His team changed the components, but used the exact same parts to stay within the rules. But even with those changes, things didn't go well. His car was clearly struggling on the high degradation track. He even admitted before the race that his car wasn't suited for a circuit like Bahrain anymore. He started in a difficult position and never really recovered. At the start of the race, we saw a lot of excitement. George Russell got a strong launch and held off Oscar Piastri into turn 1, but the standout performer off the line was Lando Norris. He started in 6th place and moved all the way up to 3rd by the first corner. That was a huge gain, 3 positions in just a few seconds. It looked like McLaren might be in for a dream result. The Ferrari team tried something different with their strategy. While most drivers in the top 10 started on the soft tires, both Ferrari started on mediums. Only Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz took that risk. Their plan was to possibly try a one-stop strategy. Start on mediums, then go to hard tires, and finish the race. However, that idea didn't work out due to an early safety car. The safety car ruined any chance of the medium-hard, one-stop strategy being successful, so they had to switch plans midway like many others. During the early laps, Carlos Sainz was heavily involved in battles. At one point, he forced Lewis Hamilton off the track. It was aggressive and controversial, but it showed how hungry Sainz was to fight for positions. Hamilton had made a good start himself, but after being forced wide, he lost momentum and even got passed by Verstappen. It was a messy few corners that changed the race order quickly. By the end of lap 2, the top positions were held by Piastri, Russell, and Norris. At that point, it looked like McLaren had a strong chance for a 1-2 finish, but things didn't go according to that script. Norris, despite his great start, was soon in trouble. Lando Norris made a small but costly mistake at the starting grid. When lining up before the lights went out, he moved his car just slightly past the yellow line. This yellow line marks where the tires must be before the race begins. Because of that, Norris received a 5-second time penalty. It might seem like a small error, but at that elite level of Formula One, even 5 seconds can change everything. And it did. Norris had to serve that penalty during a pit stop, and it cost him dearly in track position. Mistakes like this are rare among top-level drivers. Most of them are extremely careful with their grid positioning. It's strange that someone with championship hopes like Norris would risk it, especially so early in the season. It raises questions about whether he's feeling pressure or just made an unlucky decision in the moment. The real surprise of the race was young Kimi Antonelli. Although he didn't finish in the points, he was the highlight of the middle stages. He made several bold overtakes, including a huge dive on Pierre Gasly. His driving showed that he has real potential. But Mercedes let him down with poor strategy. Every time they brought him in for a pit stop, he was placed back on track in the worst possible positions, stuck behind slower cars. And the safety car didn't help his chances either. Still, Antonelli made an impression with his aggressive style and clean moves. As the race went on, more trouble came Red Bull's way. When Max Verstappen came in for his pit stop, the red light on his indicator, meant to turn green when it's safe to go, stayed red. Max was already dropped off the jack and ready to exit the pit, but the light didn't change. After hesitating for a few seconds, he finally took off, realizing it was probably a malfunction. This delay cost him around 2 extra seconds. It might not sound like much, but in a sport where milliseconds matter, it added to his already bad day. Interestingly, the same thing happened to Yuki Tsunoda shortly afterward. That suggests it may have been a general issue in the pit lane or a system glitch. Whatever the case, it played into the chaotic narrative of this race. Another big moment was when Norris and Leclerc fought for position. Norris looked like he could catch up and fight for the win, but after serving his penalty and getting stuck in dirty air, where the car loses grip because of turbulence behind another car, his chances dropped. Ferrari still walked away with decent points, but many feel that they could have done better. Some decisions seemed too conservative. Leclerc started on mediums, but they didn't fully commit to the one stop, and that indecision hurt them. Carlos Sainz, on the other hand, fought hard and made himself difficult to overtake, which slowed others down and helped Ferrari maintain position. George Russell had a steady race, but didn't have the ultimate pace to keep up with McLaren or fight for the win. Mercedes still looks like they are not quite there yet in terms of speed and overall package. Hamilton did well to recover after early setbacks, but he never really looked like a threat to the podium. Max Verstappen dropped all the way to P20 after a 6.2 second stop. It wasn't just a slow stop. The team had major trouble removing one of the hard tires, which was already underperforming throughout the race. The hard compound, labeled C3 in this race, simply didn't work well. Most teams struggled with it. Medium and soft tires were far better options. The soft compound, although labeled soft, was actually the same C3 tire used as the hard compound in places like Monaco. This meant the soft tire had better durability than expected and gave strong performance. That's why teams like Mercedes switched to softs near the end. Ferrari, on the other hand, opted for hard tires in their final stint. Ferrari had a moment in the spotlight when both their drivers were running first and second early in the race. Charles Leclerc even argued on the radio to stick with the one-stop strategy, feeling confident. But after seeing Verstappen struggle on hards, they chose to pit for mediums again. In hindsight, this turned out to be a better decision. Both Ferrari drivers showed strong pace on the mediums, gaining more than a second per lap over some of their rivals. Meanwhile, Mercedes young driver Antonelli gave fans plenty to cheer about. He pulled off some of the cleanest and most aggressive overtakes of the race, including a beautiful pass on Verstappen. Antonelli used every inch of the track and showcased racecraft beyond his years. But his race strategy might have held him back. After already pitting for softs, Mercedes brought him in again under the safety car. The decision confused many since the new softs were nearly the same age as the ones he had just removed. Hamilton also showed solid pace. He was stuck in a train early on but managed to pass several cars after switching to soft tires. At one point, he flew past Verstappen, who didn't even try to defend. Max admitted over the radio, "I can't even brake anymore. This car is simply ridiculous," expressing his frustration with the setup. As always, don't hesitate to comment down your thoughts on this situation. And also, YouTube thinks that you're going to find this next video even more interesting, so you might as well check it out.